Hello and welcome back to my studio. This is Melinda Paris. Today we're going to be working in watercolors, which I love because I feel like some of the colors that you can get are really unmatched in their vibrancy. In honor of tonight's harvest moon, we're going to be doing a moon painting, and the design is very simple, which I like because it really allows all of the techniques that we're going to be using to create texture and focus and luminosity to really take center stage. So let's get started. Okay, so that was the moon part of the painting. As you can see, I generally work in a technique called wet in wet. I find that it's more organic and it creates a lot of very interesting textures that you may not have anticipated, which is one of the reasons that I really like watercolors, because you never really have control. It's like the other texture studies where you have an idea, you have a plan, you have experience in some of the things that you've done before, but in terms of the execution, you never really know exactly where it's going to go and how it's going to turn out, which I find very exciting. At this point, we just need to wait for this to dry, and it has to dry completely because we're going to be doing the background kind of the same way. Watercolors have to be done very quickly when you're working in this technique, this wet in wet technique. And there are lots of different techniques in doing watercolors. This is just the one that I prefer. So we're going to be doing the sky, the background, in much the same way. And again, it has to be done very quickly, very organically, and there's a lot of decision making that happens in the moment, within seconds. You know, it's like, oh, that doesn't look right. Oh, fix that. Oh, that goes there. You may have seen me put something on it with a moon painting, and watercolors are interesting because there are a lot of different things that you can use to get different textures. Because I've done these before, I wanted a very specific texture on the moon, and I found that salt is the best thing to give me that. So I just pour a little bit of salt on it, and it creates this beautiful blossoming. Very sparingly, well, relatively sparingly. It just adds a little bit of depth. And I chose a warm palette because it is October, it's fall, it is the harvest moon. The other painting that I did, Flower Moon, was a much cooler palette. I used a lot of pinks and, lemon yellows and things like that because it was spring. So this one's a little bit warmer, redder. That's kind of the direction that I wanted to go with it. So we're just gonna let this dry and make sure that it's completely dry, especially around the edges, because where you want distinctive color breaks, you need to be very careful, because any amount of moisture is they'll just blend together very quickly, and there's nothing you can do about it. With watercolors, there's not a whole lot of forgiveness if you make a mistake. So we're just going to let that dry, and then we'll do the background. And we're back. I went ahead and let it dry completely, and I still wasn't happy with the sky area. So I wiped it down, which you can do. I just got a wet cloth and wiped the whole thing. We're going to give it one more pass and see if we can get this right. There are some areas in here on the moon that I would like to go back over and kind of punch them up a little bit. They just came out a little dull. And then after that, I'm going to try to give it the halo effect that I really want and do a light Prussian blue. It's a little more transparent than indigo, I think, and see if that gives us the effect that we want.